The topic today will be on the only one that really makes a difference at this particular point, and that is the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. As I said, over the last several months, since I have been, we've been keeping track of different milestones. Obviously, we all know that the election was called initially for Donald Trump back on November 5th, and most of us were pretty disheartened. So then we had to try to figure out what the heck happened. What went down? How could this have possibly gone sideways like this? We looked at the possible vote count. And through the last several months, we have gone through letters. One was from the Free Speech for People. They had sent, on November 13th, they had sent information to Kamala Harris in regards to their professional opinion on the vote count. And then, of course, after that, we had another letter come out from Jessica Singh, who, and in case you don't know who Jessica Singh was, Jessica Singh was she was the chief or the lead cyber security individual for Biden's campaign back in 2020. And she sent a letter to Biden, and hopefully he got it, in regards to things that weren't right with the vote count as well. So we went through that phase. Quite frankly, I haven't seen anything that would lead me to believe that they either got the letters, or if they got them, that they're working on them. Now, to be prudent, it would be they would keep everything close to the vest. Now, before I mention all this, I'm going to say that I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm not trying to blow rainbows. I'm not trying to give anybody false hope. All of what I say on here is my opinion, and my opinion only. Pretty much how I see it. Now, you can take it with a grain of salt, and also, do your own diligence on the matter. If you don't specifically agree with what I have to say, that's fine. Now, some of the ground rules, and I'm going to mention again as people come on, is to no profanity and no over talking. We'll try to have a civil conversation. I like some intelligent people on here to have a civil dialogue. I've seen some of these lives where they go off the deep end and people are cursing each other back and forth. I don't mind Trump supporters coming on. Actually, it makes a lot more work for me, to tell you the truth. But I don't really mind them coming on as long as they come straight with their facts and they are tactful. And that goes along with anybody else either. Just be tactful. Don't shout at each other. Don't scream at each other. And by all means, if you're going to bring profanity on here, just go and, leave it at home, or don't come on. And that goes for the chat as well. I want to keep this. I want to keep this clean. That's how people come back and listen. If they don't think it's some type of rodeo, they have a tendency to stay on and listen. But the topic of discussion today is going to be about Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. I think that's pretty important because of the fact that that seems to be I wouldn't say the only viable option, because I don't know what's happening in the background, but it would seem like a logical option at this particular point. Where Kamala was stating that no person who has vowed to strike the Constitution in the United States should ever be allowed to be behind the seal of the president ever again. So I'm taking out her word. Again, she's the president of the Senate. She's the one who certifies the vote. Some people are saying, well, she doesn't have the authority to certify the vote. She doesn't have authority not to certify it. Let's put it that way. But we've never been there before, so we don't know what she can and can't do. We're just assuming, or some people are assuming that she can't. But I don't know. I have the funny feeling that she has a little bit more power than people give her credit for. Now, what they're voting for is this: or to put an amnesty bill on the floor, contesting that this guy is disqualified. In Section 3 of the 14th Amendment states that this man is disqualified. It doesn't say there are other legislation required by Congress. It doesn't say that Congress has to make up another law or anything like that. It said this man is disqualified, and the only way that you can remove this disqualification, the only way you can remove it, is through 2/3 of Congress. That's how you can remove it, because it's written into the Constitution, so it's law. We know the Constitution as being the law of the land. And the Supreme Court justices, their job is not to make up their own rules, which it seems like they've been doing lately. But their job is to interpret the Constitution, and you can't get any simpler than that. I mean, it's written in plain text. You're an insurrectionist. Some people are coming back and saying, "Well, he wasn't an insurrectionist. He wasn't proven to be an insurrectionist. He wasn't charged with that by Jack Smith." And they're right about that. He wasn't charged with Jack Smith. But if you've been following the cases closely, you'll know the reason why Jack Smith didn't charge him is because he wanted to streamline the process so he can get it through before the election. Now, it would have been just more stuff in the water for him to do if he had charged with insurrection, because I think that would have been a sort of a higher bar than some of the other more, what you might consider low hanging fruit. So, so he wanted to, he didn't want to charge him with that, but he was charged in two places, well, at least one place that I know of 100%. I heard about California. Don't know much about that case, I got to tell you, but I do know about the Colorado case, and everybody knows about the Colorado case. The Colorado case was when the Supreme Court threw out the fact that Colorado had the right to keep him off the ballot. Now, that was the only thing that that case was about. It wasn't about whether he was qualified to be president or not through the 14th Amendment. It was that he didn't, well, the state tried to disqualify him at the state level. So what the Supreme Court said, no, this is a federal issue and you can't do that because it's a federal election. So they didn't, so they lost that case. However, it wasn't determined that could he be held liable through a federal statute, through federal regulations. That has not been tested yet. That will be tested between now and the certification. I'm hoping it will be. I'm hoping these Democrats step up, have a spine, and they bring that up. It doesn't hurt for them to bring it up. What are they going to lose? They already lost. What else are they going to lose by bringing it up? They have to bring it up. Okay? So, so then again, so as I said, Harris, KH, is the president of the Senate, and she gets to certify. She gets the final say on certifying the vote. So what's to keep her from saying, I can't certify this. This man's an insurrectionist. And according to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, I would be out of my constitutional jurisdiction to certify this. Okay, then it would be a constitutional crisis, which, hey, look, I'm okay with. That's when everyone's playing fair. These guys are not playing fair. They've got rocks in their boxing gloves. The Democrats are supposedly paying fair, but these guys are not. These other issues, as far as the vote counts are concerned, they may not certify him because of some type of scrutiny with the vote counts. Now, I haven't followed up on the GSA yet. Now, the GSA, I put up a video earlier in regards to the GSA sending the paperwork to the transition team so they can have access to offices, they can have access to funds, which they're not concerned about the funds, but just like the idiots that they are, people, billionaires, they don't understand that you can't run the federal government like you run a business, because there are rules and laws in having a private business that are not applicable to the federal government. There's a lot of things you can get in trouble for big time if you take some of those practices in the civilian sector and bring them to the federal sector. That's how Donald Trump got in trouble the last time. Number one, he got in trouble because he had the blind leading the blind. When a president comes in, it would behoove him to bring in people that are smarter than he is. Now, that shouldn't be hard for Donald Trump. He's got about he's got about 3 brain cells. So that's not too difficult to bring people in that are actually smarter than him. So that shouldn't be a big challenge. But that's if you're assuming that he wants to do things the way they should be done. If he wants to buck the system, do things underhanded, and do things where the American people don't know about it, then that's the way you do things. You bring in people who are going to give you cover. Now, that's the same mistake he made the first time. And he's not making any, making the same old mistakes. He's making brand new ones. He's bringing on people that are grossly unqualified for these positions. Now it's, the funny thing about it is he's going to find out at some point down the line. He's going to find out at some point down the line that, or they're going to find out at some point down the line that this guy's setting him up for a fall. Look at Bannon. Look at the poor guy Giuliani, man. He was mayor. He was what? America's mayor? Come on. Look at all these guys going. All these people around him went down. They're under prosecution. And just because this man comes out and he gives them a pardon, it doesn't mean they're still not criminals. They're still criminals. They've just been absolved of their criminality and they don't serve time. But their records aren't expunged. They're still convicted felons if that's the way it goes. So, all these people he's bringing in, and I wouldn't overly worry about that, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't worry about, I would worry about it in a standpoint to where you'd like to have competent people running these sensitive agencies. So in those regards, yes, you want to have competent people. But I think they're going to trip all over themselves. I think these guys are going to get in there and they're going to be button heads because one wants to have charge of this and one wants to have charge of that. They won't know what they're doing. The blind leading the blind. They're in an arena that they're not very familiar with because they've never been there before. They've only been in the private sector. Now, is it going to be good for us as Americans? No way. It's not going to be good for us because it's not going to get anything done. Just like this last Congress. Got a bunch of bozos in there. The Boberts, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Matt Gaetz, and all them other guys. See, when you put people in who are not qualified for those jobs, what happens is we come to a standstill. But the unfortunate part is all of us are taking the hit on that. Us American people are taking the hit on it. Now, speaking about the American people, and speaking about, how this election shook out. Okay. Now, if anybody has any comments on this, I'd like you to come on and share that with me. But as far as how it shook out is this. I don't think anybody on this panel, because I don't think I invited anybody who weren't followers. So if you're a follower, I took out a couple of covert individuals who I saw were in as followers, but they were just followers like moles. So I went in and took them out. Sorry about that. Well, they don't know about it because they're not here now. So anyway, if I find out if someone's covert, I'll definitely take them off and I'll block them because we don't need that. And also too, you'll notice on some of my videos, if people put in negative comments or if they use abusive language or profanity, I'll take out the remark. So if you're going to come onto my videos and you're going to make comments, please make them intelligent. Which most people, 99.999%, have done that, and I really appreciate it. I appreciate you watching my videos, but please come on, have a tasteful comment. I mean, if you want to push back. I have no issues with a little bit of elbow rubbing, but if you're going to come on, please no profanity in my comments or on the chats if you guys do decide to come on and give your 2 cents. Okay, now let's get back to what I think is going on as far as the election is concerned. People think it's red against blue, and I know a lot of people are against MAGA. I mean, I go into some of these lives, and I attend a lot of lives just to go ahead and look on and see what's happening, and I see that a lot these poor MAGA guys, Democrats too, because they get onto the MAGA platforms and then they're just slammed. But the guys, these guys, they don't have a chance. You've got 7 people against 1, and the guy just has to say hi. They're like, what? So it's funny, but anyway. But it's not red against blue. It's not me against you. It's not red. It's red and green, which means the MAGA people and us against green. I've always said, whoever owns the gold makes the rules. Okay? So if you don't have the gold, people give us the impression, this country, it's funny because they give us the impression that we have the say. Our vote counts and what have you. The only way our vote counts is if it's one man, one vote, one woman, one vote, one person, one vote. That's when it counts. like in a lot of the gubernatorial or the local races where it's one man or one person, one vote. That's when it counts. But when it comes to the presidency, it's the electoral college, and that thing is, it's antiquated. Started back in the 1700s. It was really exacerbated during the Civil War. During the Civil War, some of the Southern troops, they got their butts beat. The United States government was sort of conciliatory towards them, kind of felt bad for them. Hey, we'll give you, some more voting power. And, while you have states like California that have millions of people, and you got a place like Wyoming that who knows how many they have, but I'm sure it's a very small fraction that are actually have the same type of power that a state like California has. As far as representation, they've got 2 senators, and so does California with all them people. It's kind of crazy how all that works. But anyway, so it's not red against blue. And I wish that people would stop thinking it that way. These ultra-rich people like Elon Musk and all the other cronies that are up there, Ramaswamy, whatever his name is, he's worth about $1 billion. And then you've got Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and the Koch brothers and the Harlan Crow and all them other guys. The only one that I have respect for is Mark Cuban. Now I don't know whether he's playing dead. I don't know if he's playing dead and he's part of the game too, but I heard a lot from him during the run-up to the election. It sounds like he's concerned more about doing the right thing than he is about money, and that's the way it should be. Now, that might not be the case. I might have read them all wrong. But out of the very few billionaires that I've actually had a chance to look at and listen to, he seems like he's one that is out there for the people, and bless him if he is. So anyway. So again, it's not red against blue. It's red and blue against green, which means, bookworm, there's always an exception. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there, I don't know what you're referring to, bookworm, in regards to there's always an exception, but I can only assume that you might have been talking about the billionaires. But anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure about Gates. Exactly what, Mark Cuban. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what Gates is up to and how things are going to go for him. He's one of the ones that's grossly unqualified for the position he's in. And all these guys want retribution, and that's never a way to go into a position of leadership where you want retribution against the other guy. Then you're not looking at what's right for the people. You're looking at what you want to do to somebody else. So all those guys are a non-starter. So let me get back to what I was saying about the ultra-rich. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's these MAGA guys, oh, it's these Democratic guys, oh, it's this, it's that, and all these different issues. From what I read, Donald Trump has a very high number of billionaires in these sensitive positions around the government. Now think about it for a second. Why does he have that? Why does he have all these billionaires in these positions? And why does he have this government efficiency office going on, head by two knuckleheads, okay? It's always been the goal for the ultra-rich to lobby Congress, so this way they can get legislation done in order for them to get legislation that's going to benefit them. Look, I've got a huge company, and I want to put my wastewater into the river instead of spending millions and millions and billions of dollars cleaning it up. So I need you to make sure the EPA regulations say this, that, and the other thing. So put billions of dollars back in my pocket. That's just one example. And there are so many. So he's got all these billionaires in very high positions. Where they can influence legislation, not through lobbyists, but directly themselves. That's why he has them in there. He even said it on several occasions. He said, hey, he was talking to his buddies. Hey, look, I made you guys a lot of money. That's what it's about. It's not about us. Now, I got a couple of nickels to rub together, but I am far from being rich. I'd like to be wealthy one day. So what's wealthy? Wealthy means is when you have a residual income that supersedes your overhead. Something as simple as that. If your overhead is $5,000 a month and you make $10,000 a month on a residual basis, then guess what? You're wealthy. You're not rich, but you're wealthy. That means you ain't got to work because you got a residual coming in. So I'm not wealthy and I'm not rich. I got a couple nickels, but I work my butt off, I'll tell you that. I own a transportation company, and I work harder than any two of my drivers put together. But I'm nowhere near the caliber, not even in the same stratosphere as these ultra billionaires, and that's what they want. So you say to yourself, these guys got all the money they need. When is enough enough? Well, enough is enough when they've superseded the goals from the other billionaires. So you got about 150 ultra billionaires around the world. They control most of the world's economy. So you say, well, why do these guys need so much money? That's because they're jockeying for position amongst themselves. Jeff Bezos will tell the Zuckerbergs, hey, look, I got more money. No, I got more money than you. So they can affect their influence, and they can affect their influence on the federal government. So that's why it is not advisable to have people of those types of means in sensitive positions, because they're out for themselves. That's the whole point behind that. So again, while we're down here, and I'm talking about the MAGA, the Democrats, the independents, the little guys, while we're down here scrapping for crumbs under the table, these guys are on the top of the eating steak and lobster, laughing all the way to the bank because those idiots are fighting each other. MAGA doesn't know anything. I consider people who supported Harris pretty intelligent, to tell you the truth. But the MAGA folks, they might be some intelligent people in there, but I don't know. They might have left that home. They might have left that part home during the election. So I just don't know. And, it's not only an intelligent decision, too. I make remarks on, most of us on here have children. Okay. And, and what do we teach our children every day? We teach our children, hey, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. And when they get old enough, they go to church. Well, they're going to church hopefully the entire time. When they go to church, what does the preach say? The pastor, the preach, wherever your denomination is, he says, hey, keep it in your pants, man. That's your wife, that's your husband. Hey, no adultery, right? Yes, Father. Okay, so that's all that stuff going on. So we teach that to our kids. We grew up with those values. We're proud of them when they meet those marks. They come home from school. Why? You were lying? You were cheating? Oh, no, you're on restriction for a month. Right? So we hold them to all those values. But then these people turn around and they vote for a man who holds none of those values. So how do you square that with your kids? How do you say, I want you to do this, Tommy, Sally, but yeah, I'm going to vote for a man who represents none of that? How do you square that circle? And I have one of those. If you look at my videos, if you see my videos, I address that. It's labeled, how do you square that circle? How do you? I've got 2 daughters. They're both of college age. And I hold them to that same standard. And I live my life based on what I tell them. The first thing that I got to look at when I vote for somebody, I got to look at I can't look at their political aspirations as of yet. I do look at that at some point down the line, but I can't look at it initially. I got to look at who they are first. And I'm sure a lot of people who are on this, who are passing through or whatever and who are watching from the background, they feel the same way. I've got to see who that person is today. Like I was bringing one of my customers home today from the airport. Now this guy's a religious man. He's a religious man and he teaches his girls, fire and brimstone. But he voted for Trump. So I went into my little speech about what I'm saying right now. How do you square that circle? How do you tell your children one thing and you vote for a man who doesn't represent even your values? He had nothing to say. What could he say? Couldn't say nothing. So that's my 2 cents on that. I know I'm jumping around, but these are things that just hopping into my brain until I get some type of comments. Let me look through here, see if I can answer anybody's comments or questions or anything like that. Give me a quick second here. No, I see a lot of people joining. Let me see. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to bite you if you come up. I would like to hear what you guys on your guys' voice, and plus it keeps the conversation going as well. I definitely appreciate it. I know a lot of you guys follow me, and I definitely appreciate that. So I try to come up with a message, at least a video, maybe once, sometimes twice a day when I have a brain fart. And my daughter calling me, sorry about that. She's over in Alaska right now. I'm over here in Virginia. My daughter calling me, sorry about that. She's over in Alaska right now. I'm over here in Virginia. She's about 3,000 miles away. So I'll give her a buzz once I'm done with this meeting. That's one of the college-bound ones. Anyway, so, yeah. So as I said, that's what I look at when I vote for people. And it kind of strikes me that a lot of the MAGA folks, some of them have no beliefs at all. And when you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything. Others are these evangelicals. Oh, la, 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 la. But this is the way I see it. A lot of people have these Jesus masks. And when they go into the church, they take the Jesus mask off and they put it up on the shelf. Well, while they're in there, they have it on. Then when they go, they put it on the shelf, and there's somebody else until next Sunday. Okay? So I don't... So, that's probably the way some of the MAGA folks are. But as far as the evangelicals are concerned, okay, let's go with their argument. Oh, we forgive him. He's a man of sin, and we forgive him. Last time I looked, now I'm Catholic. So in order for my sins to be forgiven, I have to go to a priest. And I have to do confession. I got to say, hey, Father, la, 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 la. And he's going to say, okay, do the 2 Fathers, Hail Marys, and you're absolved. Okay, so, and I think most religions go that way, especially Catholic faith or the Christian faith. But you can't get forgiveness unless you admit that you sinned. I don't think he knows what the inside of a church looks like. So how these guys, these evangelicals, forgiving a man, and he doesn't even admit that he did anything wrong. So I got a big issue with that. And again, what I'd said earlier. How do you square that circle? How do you tell your kids one thing and you're voting for a man who represents something else? Now, speaking about what he represents, let's go into that for a second. What do you think Donald Trump represents? He doesn't share the same values as the people who voted for him. They think that he's some type of savior, some type of God. He's the man. He's the king. He's gonna pull us out of whatever we're in. They have no idea that this guy has no inkling about staying there with the rich and the influential. And as long as these guys brought him to the party. They brought him to the party, and now he's dumping them. He said, hey, thanks a lot for bringing me to the party. You can get going now. He doesn't need them anymore. He doesn't need them for several reasons. Number one, they got him to the party already. He's already getting set up to possibly be certified and be inaugurated. That's not called yet. Okay. So they brought him to the party, and now he's like, hey, look. And of course, the second reason is this going to be a second term. My only concern is, yeah, he's going to go. He's of age. He's only got a couple of years. The guy's already, scrambled upstairs anyway, for the most part. Now, the people who put him in place, they didn't put him in place because he was an intelligent man. That's what people got to understand. They put him in place because he's a useful idiot. He's a useful idiot. They put him in place because that's somebody they can control to a certain degree. Now, they can't control his narcissistic behavior. They already know that. He's going to go, but that works for them because that stows confusion and chaos. So they're good with that. He's a diversion. He's a showman, okay? And he's a diversion. He keeps people back on their heels. So So that part of it works for them, but they know that he doesn't know anything about anything. And all they got to do is stroke his ego, pay him some money, stroke his ego, whatever they might be. And you too can be the Secretary of State. How you doing, my friend? Can you mute for a second there? You got a lot of background noise. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm gonna mute you for a second, okay? When you're ready to come on, just gonna let me know, okay? Yeah, yeah. Whenever you're ready to speak, just gonna unmute yourself, and and then we'll have dialogue. But where was I at? I kind of lost my frame of thought. But anyway, so so that's where we are with this man. He's again, he's a useful idiot. Now, as far as what Vladimir Putin thinks of him, Vladimir sees him as a tool in his shed. This guy's dream, he's been salivating at the opportunity to take the United States down, but not from war. He's not a stupid man. He wants to take them down from within. I guarantee you, there's a lot of operatives, probably a lot of the people that Trump picked, that are in cahoots with the Kremlin. Now, I can't say that 100%. I can't say that 100%, but I can say that, looking at what's happening out there, one could come to an educational, sort of a conclusion based on observing the situation that could be the case. I certainly believe so. I believe, I believe he's a Russian asset from day one, especially back in 2018. I don't know if you guys remember that, and when he was in Helsinki. He was in Helsinki with Putin, and he said, my 17 intelligence agencies said that Putin interfered in the 2016 election. And he comes out and says, and I can't believe it, I don't see where he would have. Come on, man. Come on. He was talking to his boss. He was covering for his boss. And I put up a video on this one too. I call it Comrade Trump Comrade Trump meets Putin, or something to that effect. Go and take a look at it. You can see his demeanor with heads of state all around the world. You can see his demeanor with heads of state all around the world. But especially women heads of state. Look at Angela Merkel. He treated her like trash. He would sit in those yellow chairs they have in the Oval Office, and he would be pointing the other direction. Hardly would shake her hand. He did the same thing to everybody else. But look at his pictures and look at the video. How he presents when he's around the Russian emissary, the guys from Russia, and he's around Putin himself. What his demeanor is, especially the guys when they came to the White House. He kicked everybody out of the Oval Office, tore up his notes, shaking these guys' hands, and he was smiling so much. I mentioned in the video, I thought his face would break. I've never seen him like that. He's like a giddy schoolgirl around these guys, like he was greeting guys from his comrade training back in the USSR, back in those days. I'm just saying, it's weird. Go ahead and take a look at the video if you haven't seen it. It's labeled Comrade Trump, and you can see his demeanor around the Russians. It's a lot different. Anyway, so let's circle back to to what I initially started at. And that was the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Okay, that's really the only option we have at this point, unless they have something concrete. Now, you know that they're arrested, or they arrested that gentleman for that gambling ring, taking bets and what have you, right after the election. So they might have something there. And of course, if they did it right after the election, they've got something going down. I mean, they've been investigating it since way when. Also, I think I'd mentioned, and I don't know how this ties into it, one of the guys that I watch, it's Revolution Washington. He starts talking about Executive Order 13848. Again, 13848. Go and look at that. Look that up. He seems to think that that's going to extend the certification process because of investigations that may need to be done based on that executive order. Now, who knows? That might be the case, and they might be in. So as I said, I take everything. Again, what I said earlier, take everything what I say with a grain of salt. If you agree, you agree. If you concur, you concur. But I am not the authority on anything. These are purely my opinions. And I don't want to be held, that guy Tony, he told me this, and I'm going to come get him. Anyway. So as far as that amendment says, Section 13. Now, what the Supreme Court tried to say about that is in Section 5 of that same amendment, Section 5. They try to say that in order to disqualify him, and they might have been referring to the states, but I think they try to bring it on the federal side from what some of these talking heads and the social media talking heads, people like Midas Touch Network and people like Legal AF, which are two ones that I watch. I do appreciate their content, but I don't agree with the fact that this is the end all. The message is, oh, how dare you? Not how dare you. They don't say it like this, but how can you give people false hope? Well, they weren't talking to me, but they were just saying they've heard a lot of that going around and they're trying to discredit it. I think that's the worst thing they can do. Either shut up about it or support the idea, but just don't go ahead and discredit it. At least tell people, hey, look, we'll see what happens on January 6th. But what they're saying as far as what the Supreme Court said is that Supreme Court went an extra step. Wow. That's a surprise how they'd go beyond, especially with the president immunity thing, why they would go beyond what they were asked. But they went beyond what they were asked, and they had said that Biden or that Trump, there had to be legislation drawn up in Congress in order to disqualify him. But that's not what the Section 3 of the 13th Amendment says. It said he is disqualified, and in order to remove the disqualification, 2/3 of the Senate had to vote, 2/3 of the Congress had to vote on it. And that's not going to happen because we got a lot more than 2/3 when it comes to Democrats versus Republicans. So that's not going to happen. So it appears to be self-executing. They just got to bring it up on the 6th. So we'll see what Harris does. I did put up a video about that. We'll see what Harris does. And we'll see what the guys in Congress do. They may have an ace up their sleeve, or they may have nothing. It'd be very disappointing if they had nothing and allowed this man to take the reins of power with all of what we see in front of us and we've seen over the last 4 years. No one can convince me in any way, shape, or form that this man, in any way, shape, or form, won this election legally. He's got so much baggage, stretching from New York to California. Got all that baggage, and then he's going to sweep all 7 swing states. He's going to win by hundreds of thousands of votes. Come on, man. With all the stuff he's got behind him. See, there's something fishy when you have that large margins. And why do you have that large margins? Well, you have that large margins because that's the way the man thinks. Okay, that's the way Trump thinks. He thinks that if I win, I got to win big. Naturally, there'll be no questions. It's just that's his personality. I'm the man. I'm the best in anything. I do this the best. I do that the best. I get the biggest this. I get the biggest that. That's going to be his undoing because these margins are far too loud. Sorry about that. Far too large. Now, the way I don't know if you let's talk about bullet ballots for a second. Let's talk about North Carolina for a second. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, so I'm going to give you approximate numbers, and of course, look up the exact numbers for yourself. But from what I understand, in North Carolina, there were a lot of bullet ballots, and bullet ballots are ballots where they just voted for president, but nobody down ballot. Highly unusual that happens, especially since most of the down ballot races were run by Democrats. Again, the Attorney General, the lieutenant, the lieutenant governor, the governor, the Supreme Court. Okay, all those are one, down ballot, and then they're going to have between 200 and 300 just for Trump as president. Okay, as people say, the math isn't mathing. Okay, so there's that. It doesn't make any sense. And as far as the bullet ballots are concerned, the percentage is sky high. Generally, from what I understand, it's about 0.5% where you'll see bullet ballots where people just don't bother voting for the down ballot, just want president. From what I understand is between 8 to 10%. That's 20 times the amount of bullet ballots. Come on now. And especially since there have been record voting, people coming out to vote for Harris, and he's going to, okay? So that's Trump trying to win by a landslide. That's his narcissistic behavior. So he probably gave marching orders to whoever's finagling with this stuff. Hey, make it big, because I like it big. I want there to be no question that I'm the man. I think it's going to be his downfall. Should be. Okay, but anyway. So with these bullet ballots, now as far as the tabulation of the votes and Starlink, I haven't made that connection just yet. There are a lot smarter people than me, and I assume most people are smarter than me, that have, that are looking at that. People integrated with software and linkage and this, that, the other thing. So, there's people out there doing that. So as far as Starlink, I don't have an edge on that one. I'd probably do a little bit more due diligence on that one, but there's something fishy there. And of course, if Elon Musk is involved with it, there's something fishy. I'm not sure who Ken Paxton is. So if you'll, just enlighten me on that. And that would be Yvonne Rivera. Yvonne, how are you? Thank you. But I'll look it up. As soon as I get over here, I'll look up Ken Paxton and figure out who the heck he is. Matter of fact, I could probably do that while I am on here, and then I'll have an answer. But no, I didn't know that Elon. But see, Elon's been meeting with a lot of people that are heads of state. And the Logan Act actually, well, I don't know if that pertains specifically to people who are president-elect or anybody, but I know there's definitely, federal laws. This is what these guys do. They can converse with people outside of the federal government, but once they're involved with the federal government takes precedence. And I believe there's something about the Air Force has an investigation, and of course, investigations on Starlink as well in regards to security briefings or something in the security section, security reports. They're looking at them and those as well. Do I think the inauguration will be stopped? I hope that it's stopped by the certification. As I said, the president of the Senate certifies the votes and throws the gavel down on that. Now, my question is, constitutionally, does the president of the Senate have the authority to say, hey, look, I'm not certifying these votes. I'm not certifying these votes because stuff is going on in the background. Or does Executive Order 13484 kick in? And if you look that up, it deals with foreign interference and that the government has the right to do an investigation, and it gives timelines according to this guy from Revolution Washington, and you'll have to click into him. He speaks in sort of code, you might say, and the reason why he speaks in code is because the same reason why I just got a civil violation here. That's why he speaks in code. So he talks about red schools and blue schools and this and that and the other thing, and as long as he stays on that topic, he's good to go. So you kind of sort of, you gotta sort of decipher what he's saying, like a code talker or something like that. Okay, but anyway, so as I said, we haven't been here before. We haven't had a president in our history who has tried to overturn an election. We haven't had someone of this caliber. And we haven't had a president drop out of the race during his first term, going into his second term, having the vice president take over, and then she loses the race and then still the president of the Senate. So this is uncharted territory for everybody. We don't know where this is going to go. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what their capabilities are and what her capabilities are. They haven't been tested. They haven't been tested. We don't know. So I can only hope that she has the authority to say, hey, I mean, there might be something about it. That's the reason why, what's his name? Pence was leaned on so hard. So let's see if that's the case. Let's see. We're going to go up to January 6th, and we're going to find out what the Democrats are made of. If in fact the Congressional or the Democratic Party if the Democratic Party will step up to the plate. So we'll see how all that goes. I can't say 100% what they'll do, but it's going to be pretty interesting. Or any activity between now and the certification could be open for that as well. So as I said, I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm not trying to blow rainbows and sunshine and give anybody any type of definitive as to where it's going to go one way or the other. All I can see is I'm trying to read between the tea leaves, and I'm trying to figure out where we're at, how we got here, my opinion on various things. And as you can see, TikTok doesn't really like my opinions. But it is what it is. Okay. Well, I think I pretty much know. I'm going to touch on the subject again. I'll probably come on. I don't know. As I said, I own a business, so it's kind of hard for me to determine where I'm going to be and where I'm not going to be on any given day. Tomorrow, this time, I could be in New York City. Who knows? But so I can't really put out a schedule. Maybe I'll put something in advance, maybe sometime this time at night or something like that, several times during the weekdays. So this way you guys and all my followers will know when I'm coming on. When I'm coming on, and they'll be able to, know ahead of time so they can log on. I don't catch them eating dinner or nothing like that. But I'll probably be touching the same subject. There's really nothing else to talk about unless I get something that comes out. Speaking about the news, I take mainstream media with a grain of salt. I'm not saying I don't believe what they say. I'm not saying that they're fake media either. There are a lot of good people out there who want to tell it like it is. But keep in mind too, who owns the multimedia the mainstream media networks? The billionaires, the guys who own the gold. So they're going to only put out what they want to put out. They're going to bring it to a certain line, like with people, let's go and talk about them. Joy Reid, Rachel, let's put it this way. I'm going to think of her name in a second. Lawrence. I know I'm speaking for people who are on MSNBC, but I do like a handful of people who are on there. As far as Fox, forget about it. These guys, I don't know what's up with them. They must pay these guys a lot of money. They are paid actors. They're not telling the news. They just paid actors. They paid for doing a performance. Where on the end of the MSNBC side, CNN sort of tries to stay neutral. They try to, play both sides against the middle. They try to, that sort of bores me. But I do like the attack dogs on MSNBC. Poor Joe and Mika, those guys are getting what they deserve. You don't go and kiss the ring after people have been savagely misled. you don't go and kiss the ring, especially since you've been talking about him all these years, and all of a sudden he gets elected and you're running over there and shooting the breeze with the guy. Come on. I never really liked Joe anyway. I like Mika. Mika was more of a, she looked like she was more leaning left. But Joe would always bring her back in. He was very, very stern with her. He overspoke a lot with her. And he was, he's very aggressive to where it was only his opinion that mattered. And of course, Joe Scarborough was he was a Republican. Well, he still is, but he was a Republican. So his views on things, he sort of rode the line, and when it was convenient for him, he went one side or the other. But I know what side his butter was, his bread was buttered on. But I think he's going to pay the price if they already haven't paid. I know in ratings, it's really gone down. But I do enjoy a lot of people on the MSNBC. I don't watch it as much. I even canceled my subscription to Sirius. Most of the time, I spend my time on social media, like, with fine people like yourself. Sort of going back and forth because, I think that a lot of what they put out in the mainstream media, they let them, as I said, they bring them up to a certain point and then they sort of take them back. I do appreciate when I see some of these people having their own podcasts. I do tune into that. I know Lemon has his own podcast. I don't know if he's still working I think it was with CNN. I know there's several other people that have their own podcasts, and I tune in once in a while. And they are not as, tied to that, especially if they've been let go. I don't know if you guys remember back in the days, Keith Olbermann, back during the Bush days, he used to do, a final thought after every session. And boy, he used to hammer Trump. I mean, not Trump, but George Bush. He used to hammer him. I would just watch to watch him hammer him. I didn't particularly care for George Bush either. Nice guy. You'd probably sit down and have a beer with him. But George, George was, he let these guys, Rumsfeld and Cheney, just make him into a war hawk. Because, a lot of those situations in Iraq, we shouldn't have been there. A lot of it was due to what investments the Bushes had over there initially, with the one with Kuwait, and then following these guys into Iraq. And, anyway. So I'll pick a topic, which I'm going to talk about next time. Most likely I'm going to hash all this again, because I'll have new people coming on. And you guys, please, I didn't have anybody come up. I think I had one guy come up, and then it looks like I lost him for a second. There was some noise in the background, so I muted him, and then after that, he was gone. So by all means, come up. Let's have a dialogue. I like to hear what you have to say, but also keep in mind and tell other people that may come on, I don't allow profanity. I like a intelligent conversation, intelligent dialogue. We take turns going back and forth with each other. That's the way that I would prefer it. Okay? Well, I've got my strike for tonight for my civil whatever from TikTok. Not that it bothers me too tough. Now, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called My 2 Cents on Politics. And if you look at my my username right underneath that, you'll see Lemonade there. And I kind of mess with that. I'm not, that's good for menus, and, it's a lot of scantily dressed women on there, and I could do without that. But outside of that, there's not too much there for me. But I do put some of my shorts there, things that are like 60 minutes or less, 60 seconds or less. I'll put them there just to have some place to lay them. I actually do it on my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel, I will have some of my content that I have on this channel, on the TikTok channel, I'll have there. I haven't transferred everything over yet. I'm just trying to transfer the most current stuff. People don't want to hear about stuff that happened November 6th or what I said November 6th. If you do, go down to the bottom of my videos, and you'll see what my mental attitude was right after the election, coming up to all the way till today. And there's a lot of good videos. All these videos I do myself. Obviously, the ones with my picture on it, you'll see that I do that myself. The ones that are sort of look like cartoonish type deals, I do those myself as well. I put together the script. Even the latest one I put up, I do the script. and then I find illustrations to sort of match with the script to give my thought. I think one of the more popular ones that are out right now that is really getting a lot of attention is the one where I say, one day you'll understand. And it deals with the military, and, these guys, they don't realize now what they've done, but they'll understand at some point down the line what type of man they put into office. So anyway, so definitely check all those out, and then you'll be up to speed with me next time you come on. I appreciate everybody passing through or checking in or whatever comments you might have had. And let me see if there's anything else I can answer for anybody. Yeah, CNN was, CNN was a good outlet, and I enjoyed sorry about that. CNN was a good outlet, and I enjoyed listening to them, but somewhere they were more concerned about what was said and being caught in the middle and lawsuits and things like that, so they kind of changed up a little bit, and I can't say that I really appreciate where they are right now. As I said, I don't really listen to any mainstream media right now, not even MSNBC. I may go through YouTube and, sort of fall on a story, but, a lot of times they sensationalize things in YouTube. They'll say the title is sensationalizing. When you get in it, it's nothing like the title. It's just sort of clickbait. So I don't really appreciate that. But anyway, so, and with mine, you'll never get clickbait. What it is what it is. I don't believe in that type of stuff. I'm not even doing this to get paid. As I said, I got a couple nickels to rub together. I'm cool. But I do this, and I just started about a month ago, well, after the election. I was doing YouTube a little bit before then, but I just started it because, my wife, she don't listen to me all too tough when it comes to politics. She doesn't really get into it. My daughters, they're out doing their things, so I don't get a chance to chit-chat with them about all this. So I do it specifically because, well, I got to get it off my chest. I get it off my chest, and I've got a lot of stuff roaming around in my brain, so I got to get out and give my 2 cents. So that's why I do it. So, whatever you get from me will be either the unfettered truth or the unfettered opinion, but I'm not going to clickbait anybody. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Okay. Well, that's it for tonight. Definitely appreciate you guys logging on, and I will reach out to you another night. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to put it out in advance, so this way you guys know I'm coming on, and I'll try to have it about this time in the evening, because I think most people are relaxed at home and they're chilling out. You don't want to do this stuff while you're driving home from work. Well, good enough. Well, I appreciate it, and good evening, and I will catch you guys at another time. Thanks a lot. Bye.